All right, welcome everybody. This is the, I don't know how many annual Percussion Ensemble concert in Princeton. I actually have to look back and see how many years we've been doing this, but I can't claim credit for the name Pupp-E. That was actually around with undergrads doing Percussion Ensemble at Princeton before, so Percussion started teaching here. But it's actually always been sort of a student-driven ensemble, but the four of us at So Percussion try to interact and help out when we can, since it's what we do. We're a percussion ensemble. And this year, I think absolutely this performance would not be happening without Elijah Sheena. So we should all give him a big We weren't even sure that there was going to be any way to do a concert at all this year, and Elijah sort of wrangled a lot of people to make a lot of these. Playing on almost every piece on the program, so you'll see a lot of them. But anyway, this is going to be really fun and awesome and very low stress, and let's just have a lot of fun. So the first piece up is going to be Into the Air by Trevino. wrote this piece, he had studied at the Eastman School of Music, and his professor, Mike Bird, is this like really high energy guy, and so Ivan Trevino talks about like being inspired to like write a rock and roll piece for Mike Bird, and then you can kind of feel that energy there. The next piece is by a composer named Steve Reich, sort of one of the most influential composers of the 20th century and 21st century. And Reich developed this technique early in his career called phasing. He actually developed it listening to tape players and hearing two tape players slowly get apart from one another, right? So you're hearing the same thing happening twice, but slightly offset from itself. And that unspooled into all of this musical development for him. And eventually, so he had players originally do the whole process of tearing apart from each other. But later on, he said, you know what, I'm actually more interested in where they get to, playing the same thing but offset from each other. And so a lot of his music developed around that. This piece, Nagoya Marimbas, came later in his career in the 90s. And he said at this point, okay, I just want to hear the two players offset from each other. And by this point, he was having them cycle through things much faster. So each pattern that Luca and Elijah play is sort of derived from the previous pattern in some way, but they're both playing essentially the same thing, starting at a different place in the pattern throughout the piece. So this is Nagoya Marimbas.
warrants an introduction. Are there any chess players in the audience? Anyone? One hand? Okay. You may be familiar with the game of the century between 13-year-old Bobby Fischer and a well-known master at the time. Bobby Fischer, of course, would go on to become one of the most famous chess players in history, the 1972 chess world champion, and maybe the greatest player of all time. But what he was not at the time, when he was 13, was any of those things. He was just a kid who was beating up on a great master in what is one of the most famous chess games that has ever been played, that we will now perform for you to music. I can keep talking. It's a really cool game. If you want to get interested in chess, this is a really fun game to study, and there are, because it is so famous, countless videos on YouTube that explain all of the chess behind the moves. This piece is an attempt to rhythmize it in a way that to the composer and to some of the other people who play chess just sort of makes sense. Chess is a game about thinking, and you get many hours sometimes to play games at this very high level. But the moves themselves, when you look at the beauty of how the pieces interact with one another, just come out in time in a way that just feels beautiful to those who play. I would encourage all of you who have not played chess before or don't know very much about it to start enjoying the game. Perhaps if you like this piece, to start here. It's cool, I promise. And back to your regularly scheduled rooms.
So I was going to say about this next piece, the composer is another percussionist composer. His name's Sammut. He himself is a marimba player, but has a background that sort of was in jazz and Western classical music. And he famously won this big marimba competition in the United States in 1995, I think. And supposedly, in the final round of that competition, you had to play a notated piece, and he played a piece of his own that sounded so improvised that the panel made him go get the score and prove that it was written down. I think that kind of tells you something about his music, and you definitely hear that in this piece. In fact, in this piece, there's moments that slide between notated music and improvised music. So this is Kaleiduoscope by Sammut. so I should say Andrew and Terry, who rocked that last piece, are going to be playing marimbas on this next piece. And this next piece is kind of cool. It's by the same composer, Ivan Trevino, who wrote the first piece on the program. And this one, the piece itself exists in multiple forms. So the two marimba players can play it as just a duo piece, but then it can be expanded out to these larger ensembles. So in this case, we're going to have vibraphones and trombones and left steel. These cajones are boxes that can play in a sort of drumming way. And I should also say that Andrew and Gary, marimbas, along with Elijah and Alex here, they're all part of the quartet that's taking Music 213 this semester. So that's the favorite music course on campus. They're all actually getting credit for tonight's program, or maybe we'll give them a grade if they don't do well. That's not true, actually. They've all already gotten it. Yeah, it's a really cool course. If any of you are musicians and interested in doing chamber music, the four of us in percussion run in with other music teachers and partners. You don't have to play just percussion. Actually, we're psyched when people want to play percussion in 213 because many of the other groups are string quartets and trios and playing all kinds of older classical music. But yeah, we're really excited when people play music in that course. So yeah, this one is called Catching Shadows, and we'll take just another minute before we start. Yeah. There is a lot of music and a lot of instruments in stages of percussion ensemble concerts. So,
All right, I think the 5-minute break is over. It was a quick break. Is everybody doing good? It's so nice to hear this much percussion music at Princeton. My name is Jason Truding. I compose the next piece. I also play at Percussion. I just wanted to tell you just a little bit about it before we play. This piece 9 numbers 8 is part of a larger set of music called 9 numbers. It goes from a solo up to a nonette, I guess. It's based on Sudoku. Is anybody into Sudoku? There wasn't many chess players in here. Okay, we got a couple more Sudoku folks. You all may know Sudoku are these 9 by 9 puzzles. All the numbers 1 through 9 have to go across each row and in each column, and also kind of in each 3 by 3 box. So for folks who are into patterns, it's just a treasure trove of kind of patterns. And as a composer, I really like patterns. So I wrote all these pieces based on these Sudoku. Oftentimes the scores to the piece go something like solve this Sudoku, and then it kind of teaches you how to make your own version of a piece for yourselves. This one, for 8 people, I've kind of made the version for us, but all the notes that everyone's playing in some ways comes from those numbers in the Sudoku. I should also say I'm very, very into cycles. So, this piece you'll hear some cycles, hopefully. This piece, the more I've talked about it and played it with other groups, I've realized that I spent a summer studying Balinese and Javanese gamelan music. Mostly I think about the Balinese music that I studied, but actually the time in Java, these kind of big, really wonderful, kind of slow-moving gamelan pieces feel to me like really inspired this next piece. In a lot of Javanese and Balinese music, it's 5-note scales that are used. Of course, in this one, there's a 9-note scale that I use because of all the 9 in the Sudoku. Anyway, maybe that'll help you get into this piece of music. I'm really, really grateful that a show that So played recently in Richardson, we were able to play with for the folks in Pupp-E, and that was really wonderful. So it was really nice for them to ask us to do it again here. Next year, actually, we're going to play some more music with students on our 2 shows in Richardson. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to play some music with Julia Seisman, some with a bunch of percussionists, hopefully, if y'all are into it. And also, there'll be chances for other musicians to play too. So be on the lookout for that. And this is 9 numbers 8. This is a puzz. This is a puzzle. The puzz. The puzzle. The puzzle is. The puzzle is 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 3, 7, 8, 7, 3, 4, 9, 2, 8, 1, 5, 6, 6, 8, 7, 3, 1, 9, 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 5, 8, 3, 1, 3, 8, 6, 1, 4, 7, 5, 9, 2, 9, 1, 5, 2, 8, 3, 4, 6, 7, 4, 2, 1, 3, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 9, 8, 7, 4, 2, 1, 3, 8, 7, 3, 5, 1, 2, 6, 4, 9.
student in the composition program here at Princeton. We're really, really lucky that so many amazing composers come to Princeton and then get excited about percussion when they're here. So the four of us in So Percussion, every 3 years we teach a class on composing for percussion. So that class lasts an entire semester where people try out composing all kinds of different things, and then the entire semester after that, the people in that class write pieces for us, and usually we do it as a big performance at the end of that second semester. During the pandemic, we kind of took the entire class online, and the second semester ended with us recording videos of these pieces. So we had a video premiere of this piece on campus last semester, but So Percussion actually hasn't had the chance to play this one live at Princeton yet. So actually these folks will be playing the Princeton premiere of this piece in some ways, which is really awesome. But Shelley's an amazing composer, also a baritone sax player. Jason mentioned earlier us doing the music of Julius Eastman. Also recently, and she's played with us in that way, part of a composer collective called Kinds of Kings that's really, really awesome. So please check her music out more. But she's told us that this piece is meant to evoke sort of a lazy Sunday afternoon, that feeling you have in your city maybe when you leave your apartment and you're kind of walking out, it's a nice day outside, maybe you're going to go get brunch later, but you sort of feel like you're just sort of looking forward to that relaxed, not having anywhere to be kind of feeling. So yeah, this is Shelley Washington Sunday. Bach's Chaconne from the second Princeton. I was actually looking this up earlier today, and it's like one of the pieces that has been transcribed onto the most different instruments of all time. NPR actually has a story about it, and even gave an example of someone playing a Chaconne on Marimba as like a, can you even believe it? This is actually a kind of long tradition for percussionists, for so long. Some of these percussion instruments that were developed to play in the orchestra just didn't have a lot of repertoire written for them. Actually, we're kind of in a very lucky situation today that that's not the case anymore. A lot of music has been written for the instruments, but there's still a sort of strong tradition of playing, transcriptions on the instrument, and Bach in particular, his cello suites, his violin sonatas, things like that often fit well on marimba. And actually, we should give a shout out for sure. A lot of the students in Pupp-E and percussionists on campus in general take lessons with John Ferrari, who couldn't be here tonight. Often he gives instruction in Pupp-E, but also does the private lessons on campus. So. Princeton here are not conservatory students. They have to take a bunch of really hard classes while they're making music with us, which is mind-boggling. You know, we have been in rehearsals before. People are like, "Oh, I need to run. I have a rocket science final." It's an incredible place, and we're just super thrilled that we can be here and teach fantastic students like this. Everybody who's playing tonight has dedicated all of this time, you know, really found time in between all of that busy schedule they have to make it work. So the next thing that we're going to hear is one of George Hamilton Green's rags. This one's called Ruffles. And there's actually a kind of awesome tradition of vaudeville playing on xylophone and marimba that is part of our tradition as percussionists. You know, it's a really funny thing. The marimba, as a basic instrument, it's one of the oldest instruments in the entire world. I mean, the traditional instrument in Africa would have been a slat of wood, a piece of wood laid over a hole in the ground that could kind of resonate with the wood. And that instrument sort of traveled different routes all over the world. There was actually versions of it that went to South America, and this instrument that we play came up through South America and into North America, and at first found its way into musical culture in the United States through sort of vaudeville, right? And on the xylophone initially. Other versions of the instrument went other paths through the world and ended up kind of merging. It's a fascinating history, but this vaudeville tradition is a really important one for us as percussionists, and so ragtime music is actually something that all percussionists kind of end up playing or studying at one point in history. There's an incredible group from Canada called Nexus that sort of maybe established the core tradition of two marimbas accompanying the xylophone play. But so Cassidy's going to be playing the xylophone part tonight, and this is Fluffy Ruffles. And this piece, actually, I feel like it's an awesome piece to do last on this year's concert because I remember when Elijah and Alex were freshmen, that Elijah told me, there's this piece, 8-on-3 and 9-on-2, that Alex wants to play. And I don't know, it looks really hard, but if he wants to play it, I'm down to do it. And I was kind of like, oh, that's great. These freshmen are like really down to support each other. I know Alex has a stronger background in playing marching percussion. And this piece is sort of designed, I believe, actually kind of interesting connection with the first piece on the program was written for a student at Eastman, or for the professor at Eastman. This piece was written for one student at the Eastman School of Music for another student studying at Eastman at the same time. And both of them had a background in marching bands. So percussionists, a lot of us start out playing drums in marching bands. And these two students got together and said, hey, how do we bring, I think they had each marched one of the bass drums on Cadets, which is like one of the famous drum lines, right? And when you play these bass drums, a lot of times the lines are going, like you're playing, you're just playing through one note in this really complex pattern. And these guys both said, how do we bring that experience and make something that can be played on a concert hall stage? And the end result is this piece. They kind of set out to make a piece that would fit on a percussion ensemble concert, but also use all of the skills they had learned from drumline. And one of the crazy experiences that I had with the pandemic, right, is that Elijah and I were actually together the day that Princeton shut down because he was in a group with seniors at the time playing a piece by David Wayne called The So-Called Laws of Nature. We coached that piece, left, didn't see each other for a year or more. And I remember when I came back to this building in the basement here, that piece, The So-Called Laws of Nature, was still set up from that coaching, and there were remnants of this setup because Elijah and Alex had started to work on this piece. So, this piece to me right now speaks to seniors now, and 2.5 years out of their 4 years have been totally crazy and dealing with the pandemic and everything. So I just want to say, all of the students who participated tonight, I'm so impressed by all of you.
Let's give the seniors a round of applause.
Really, all of you. So it's actually super fulfilling to see that Elijah and Alex actually did it and got this piece learned. And they're going to rage on this right now. So it's 8-on-3 and 9-on-2.
Can I say one more thing? I want to thank everyone who's played with me. I know that I played in a lot of pieces and that everyone kind of had an idea at the beginning of the year that they wanted to play percussion music, but sometimes everyone's schedule just goes all to hell and no one gets to play together. And I'm thankful for every one of you that played everything with me, from notes on chess to drumming to mallet stuff. I've played in orchestras with you. I've played in bands with you. I've played in percussion ensemble music with you. That piece there is talking about the so-called laws of nature. We actually played it. That day after we did a coaching, we came in here. Henry Peters and I played Departures, and then Riley, Stephen, Henry, and I played so-called laws of nature, and then we left campus. And there was like a hole in my heart waiting to play percussion music ever since. I love doing this, and I hope you guys love listening to it as much as I love doing this. Alex and I have come a long way since playing clapping music on the Symphonia concert that was in Rocky Common Room fall of freshman year, and I think we got one more good piece for you.
Yeah.
Thank everyone so much for coming. I hope you guys have a good evening.
Wow. Unbelievable. Wow. That sounds like a drum line. Thank you. 3,000 words. Chess was there was a phone call. Grandma. Tell Grandma not to got her phone. What did you say?
Very satisfying.
Actually,
Yeah, like, once you get balance from that, you realize there's a hard time understanding it.
Yeah.